Hi, this is Sebastian from Social Anxiety Solutions. Welcome. I'm a former social anxiety disorder sufferer. I'm a social confidence coach. I've been coaching people since 2009. I've been involved in personal development for 19 years, 36 now, do the math. And today I'm interviewing Civanni. And he is actually also from the Netherlands. So we could do this in Dutch, but we're going to lose a lot of our audience. So we've decided to do this in English anyway. Um, I spoke to Civanni maybe 6 months ago, roughly, while I was in lockdown in the Philippines. And he volunteered to do a live coaching session on YouTube that you can see somewhere near this video, or if you're listening to this in the podcast, you can go to my YouTube channel or look for the previous episode. He reached out to me maybe a month ago saying that things have been so much better, it made a lot of progress, and so on and so forth. And I said, well, would you, because it was quite a long email, I said, would you be willing to share that on an interview? Because, spread the good news. And he said yes. So here we are. So first of all, I already said it earlier, but now as well, thank you for sharing and for doing this, helping other people. The more people that start speaking about their transformation, the more easy it is for other people to believe that they can make that transformation too. So thank you. Good stuff. Then, how I do these interviews are like, I have a bunch of questions and I just run over these questions and I'll just, ask follow-up questions from there. But it's a bit of a nice format to have a bit of structure to the interview. So, there we go. All right. So can you explain what your social anxiety experience was like before you found tapping, before we did our coaching session?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really stoked to talk about. I was just had an insight in the car. I was like, okay, I'm doing this podcast. How great is that? How wonderful. I'm not suffering so severe anymore that I can talk about my problems and be authentic and and express myself and actually help others with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course,
Exactly.
obviously know how much
Awesome.
suffering there is and how much shame there is around it and how many people keep it inside. Because of all the emotions attached to it. Yeah. So I still feel anxious doing a call like this, but it doesn't hold me back from doing it. So yeah, getting back to your question. So thank you for that. How was my experience before? You mean like when? Yeah, from the beginning, as I can remember, until now. Yeah.
No, like when you were in a social situation, what would you experience? What thoughts would you have? What feelings would you have? How did the social anxiety affect your life? A bit like that.
Yeah. Well, it always affected me in a way that I was like always thinking I was not capable of having a social, a proper conversation. I was lacking in communication skills. Obviously, my body was in fight or flight, so I was always, one of the things is my heart was always racing, and it was hard to actually listen to another person talking, and that's why obviously my communication skills were a bit lacking. Because I was like, of course, I was like running, looking for places to run away or to freeze, and just more staying with my thoughts inside my body instead of like paying, giving my attention full, like 100% attention to the person who I was communicating with. Obviously my body thought it was in danger, so it's always my heart racing, maybe a bit of sweating actually, and always, how do I say, of course, anxious, not relaxed, always in a always looking around me instead of looking in the other person's eye. And like I feel my body was a bit like shaking. I feel a lump in my throat. I feel my throat was blocked. Like actually my throat chakra was blocked. not able to, yeah, well, like one of the biggest things was not able to listen to another person, always thinking about the next thing, how does this other person perceives me, how do I come across, how always thinking about the words I'm saying. Actually, even if I went into a social conversation or to a social event or whatever, I was thinking about the next step. And when I experienced experienced the event afterwards, or analyzing the event and like beating myself up for it and judging myself for it, and yeah, etc. And of course, this went for so many years. I think it started from like 15 or 16. It started actually for me while I was what noticed for myself. I always froze in situations where I didn't feel safe. That's where it started for me. So I was like, I thought I was shy. I just didn't feel safe. So my body just like, obviously it helped me, and it's there to protect me, what I know now. But back then I didn't feel safe. So I froze because I couldn't escape because I was with friends, and like, it's weird, obviously, to run away, and like, you know, you don't want
Bye,
to,
I'm gone.
yeah, see, like, I'm anxiety again, so I'm going.
Yeah.
No, it's obviously it didn't work like that. So it just froze, and then obviously, like, the people I hang around with back then, they start like attacking me. That was my threat, or embarrassing me, or like, even though they see and they saw you were like anxious or shy or whatever, so you were a target, and they obviously that keeps going on. And then, you know, I was too proud to just leave that group or situation, even though they were not my friends. You know, I was like, hey, you know, I'm cool. You know, I'm like, I can handle this.
Yeah, it doesn't
But
affect
back
me.
home, I was, yeah, obviously, and then back home I was overthinking, and I even remember like laying on bed, and my anxiety, went worse with the day, every day, and I felt my body was just not even able to sleep, and just thinking and thinking and analyzing, and then, um, um, thinking about the future, um, how I'm gonna, let me say, um, act next time when I'm in the group, or those kind of things.
Yeah.
Created, of course, more anxiety and repetitive negative experiences, and that builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up, and eventually I didn't feel safe in any social situation. And until a few months ago, when I found out about that I actually had social anxiety. From all those years, I wasn't even aware that it was. I looked it up years ago. It's like, oh, no, this is not me. This is, it's probably something else. Yeah, I'm broken from experience in my life, and they hurt me so much. And like, I need to work so much on myself, and I don't love myself, and there's so much work to be done. And there felt like it's always work to be done. There was never an acceptance. So obviously that made anxiety worse, of course, not accepting it in the first place. And then like 6 months ago or so, I realized that it was social anxiety all this time. And then I found out about all the physiological reasons, and all the information. I was like, hey, look, everything fell into place. Like, aha, oh, of course you felt like that. Of course your body didn't feel safe, or your subconscious mind didn't feel safe in that situation, so it protected you back then. It all makes so much sense now, and like, of course, by accepting it and releasing those subconscious resistance, now it's like, yeah, okay, sometimes I feel anxiety, but doesn't hold me back, and then, like, and doesn't give that extra layer of um, not accepting my emotions or my feelings or the anxiety, and not identifying myself with it anymore. So, hey, okay, yeah, it's part of my system, what protected me, but it's not me. And like, I went all throughout the whole journey before the anxiety, and it all fell into place now. But all before that, like, accepting my feelings and emotions, and went through this whole journey, or like finding through my true self, and like what's behind that, and like not identifying with my thoughts and my thinking, and as creating the separation between myself and my emotions or problems or thoughts, and actually went to a more spiritual path, and like um, became more an observer of and a noticer of my feelings and the anxiety, and see it as something that's what I say, like part of my system, and protecting me. But it's not me. It's not, I'm not broken. It's nothing wrong with me. It's just, yeah. So yeah, that's short
So
in a
prior
nutshell.
to it, you already, sorry to interrupt you, but so
No
prior
worries.
to it, you already had some kind of a mindfulness, and you already went on a particular path of self-development, but you weren't
Yeah.
aware that it was social anxiety yet.
Yeah.
Then about 6 months ago, you discovered it's social anxiety, and then you started doing the other work, which we'll get into in just a
Yeah.
second, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Cool. Um, well, my next question kind of is funny because it's this. What were the things that you tried before, and what were your results?
It's a good question, Sebas.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, yeah, I tried heaps of things. Like, yeah, I did. Yeah, of course, mindfulness, everything. I can say everything definitely worked. But if you don't know where you're working on, you're not working on the root of your problem instead of working on the surface layers. And obviously, like, I experienced so many positive changes, like being more aware of my habits, of my thoughts, of my feelings, emotions, etc. My whole being, by being doing mindfulness course of 8 weeks. I did heaps, traveling, facing my fears. Actually, I had a similar story as you had, with the dating and the woman. So approaching the woman on the street. I did also a few. I did one boot camp, well, like a weekend, 3 days. I went into Amsterdam, approached groups of women individually in cafes, on a terrace, just walked up alone, and it was horrible. It's horrible. I felt super confident after doing it. My body, you could how do you say that? Scrape me up with a broom because I was so exhausted after that weekend. But I felt great. I was like, yes, I can get rid of my problem by facing my fears forcefully. But obviously, my anxiety kicked back in after a week or so,
Yeah.
not 100%, but over time. So yeah, I was forcefully facing all my fears. What I did more. Obviously, watch what I'm eating, all those things. Going into nature, grounding myself. I said mindfulness. What more actually? Yeah, even different plant ceremonies. I did a lot of things too, but I never from the moment when I realized that the problem was the social anxiety, I was like, oh, now I can go to the root of the problem, or at least I can go deeper inside, and then obviously all the traumas and etc. Revealed to me, and I can tap on that. And obviously, it's not done by just doing that. But creating a more safe. More safe feelings in the moments where I normally felt anxious, and by saying, doing all that work that I did, what I described, all those things I did before. Obviously, it helped, but it made progress. I made progress, but not really the progress that I'm making in the last 6 months. Also by doing the tapping,
Yeah.
and really addressing the problem.
Yeah, I think that's the main difference. I did yoga this morning, 20 minutes, not an hour and a half. I don't know. But I did yoga this morning. I meditated for 12 minutes, not super long. But all of these practices, they help. They make you more resilient. They make you more self-aware. They make your body more relaxed. They do lots and lots of good things. And there's science backing up all of that. So it's all great. Just my experience as a coach, and my personal experience is that the tapping, when you apply it in the right way to social anxiety, that's just night and day comparing to doing some meditation and some mindfulness and some yoga for your social anxiety. I think ideally you do all of it, but don't leave out, in my experience, the most important ingredient, the most effective ingredient, and that's the tapping in the right way. So let's talk a bit about that. So
Yeah, it's like, so just one thing I want to say, like, yeah, for sure. Like I meditated for like at least the last 3 to 5 years, and like I do it daily and sometimes twice a day. And yeah, when you say yoga and all that stuff, and yeah, it definitely helps. It definitely helps. And of course, it calms your nervous system down, but it doesn't address like the root problem. Like, yeah, like what you say, like definitely recommend to do both, do it all.
Yep.
Watching your whole lifestyle, how you're living your life. Obviously, like quitting your coffee, and then it all, like if you drink 8 coffee a day and do the tapping, yeah, it's not gonna make it easier, right? So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's
But then
right.
like the real actual change started when by addressing the root problem. So like by doing the tapping, and then in combination with everything, it's like, oh, I made so much more
Yep.
triple.
And your
Right.
progress probably goes a lot
Yeah,
faster
that's
too
what. Yeah,
when
that's
you've
what I want
got
to
that
say.
setup going. Yeah. Yeah. Because you're already supporting your nervous system by doing yoga, meditation, and so on. You're creating a good atmosphere for transformation to take place.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah. Okay. So then we had our session with my internet wow in the Philippines, which was surprisingly good. And
Yeah.
then what do you remember of that?
We were working on one specific trauma back then. I told you
Yeah.
about that I was like anxious in group formations, or probably because I had a traumatic event um, that significantly um, increased my anxiety, my social anxiety.
Right.
And it was one big event. I was embarrassed, made fun of, judged, criticized, all at once, everything at the same time. So like there were a lot of things involved with that event. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a turning point in your life when you were 15 or 16 when your social anxiety worsened significantly. Am I right in remembering that?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that experience that was embarrassing, that was painful, that was I forgot what it was, but that particular experience
That's right.
kickstarted the anxiety. So it was the initial significant emotional experience from which things got worse. And so that was a traumatic experience for you. And since then, you've been reliving the feelings from that memory over and over and over, because people's circumstances and events would trigger the feelings from that memory at age 15, 16, because your brain had stored it in procedural memory. So that's how it works. We relive a lot of our traumatic experiences. And for you, there was a very blatantly obvious, usually isn't that way, or I
Yeah.
shouldn't say usually, but often it isn't that way. For you, there was a blatantly obvious experience from which things got worse. And so we looked at that particular memory and we addressed that. And that's a big part of what we did within that session. We neutralized all of the emotions. We got rid of the meaning of what it meant about you and how you thought that you were now seen by other people, and shifted that around. Yeah. And what has happened since in terms of your own tapping, in terms of your results? Yeah.
Yeah. Since our last call, since that session, so we work specifically on my social anxiety in group settings. I'm
Right.
feeling, I think it was that I felt, well, let's say that there are a few things around, like I felt embarrassed, or felt made fear to be criticized, or fear to be made fun of, etc. So I definitely feel much more at ease in those settings, just in general, actually, and much more at ease than before. I made heaps of progress. Still feel that there are some small things to be addressed, and because was such a big traumatic event, well, there were so many emotions and thoughts involved, that it's of course it's we broke it down, I think, like maybe for 70%, but I still feel there's some like 20 or 30% left there, that there's something to work on. Or because sometimes in like, of course, I'm not 100% socially free yet, getting really close. I'm like stage, I don't know, stage 1 to 10, and stage maybe 8. Obviously, sometimes I still feel anxious in some situations, specifically in groups and meeting new people. Still, there's maybe some fear of being rejected or criticized or whatever. Feeling, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So thanks for sharing that. I think that you're expressing that, and that you can, like what you said earlier in the call, that so you're maybe at level 8 out of 10 in terms of your comfort now, but there's still a bit to go. But there's no shame about that, at least no shame that is obvious to me. It's just, well, this is just the way it is, and I've got this more thing to go, and it's so much better. In the beginning, I thought I should only interview people who've made the full transformation, because otherwise people listening or watching, they're like, well, it only gets you so far. Well, yeah, but from stage 1 to stage 8, that is a gigantic transformation. And also, we're talking about 6 months. I just did one session, just that live session. And aside from that, I like interviewing you when you're not all the way there yet, because it's also for some people, it's too far outside of their reality to believe that they can get to a place where they have no anxiety anymore. I mean, it's possible. I don't have any, many of my clients don't have any more, but for some, it's just too difficult to believe that. And so someone who is closer to that, but not completely there, it's more believable to get to that place. This is what a marketing guy told me, at least. And I think it makes sense. So he's like, you need to start interviewing people in different stages. Now it's even harder to get people on the call who are in the earlier stages, because they still have so much anxiety that they're dealing with, and they're still not really convinced that they can overcome it. So it's a bit harder, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, they still have a bit of, they probably have some hope, but they probably didn't experience enough changes for themselves to actually believe that it's possible, right? Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I saw that myself. So I saw so many, like, how I'm feeling like socially at ease, and how much energy do I actually have nowadays. It's incredible. I'm not worrying. I fall, if I go lay on the bed, I'm falling asleep straight away. You know what I mean? Like from back then, I was feeling anxious and worrying about this, worrying about that, and it's So yeah, well, I'm grateful for so much progress already. You know.
Awesome. And what have you done yourself since? Because we have not been in contact since. We just did that one session 6 months ago. And what kind of personal tapping have you done, or have you done any tapping, or like?
Yeah. Well, I'm actually following a course from the Tapping Solution from Nick and Jess Ordner. It's about it's a personal fulfillment and financial abundance course. So what you're doing, I was like an 8-week course, and I'm working all about all my limiting beliefs. It's not specifically just around money. It's all, of course, about all childhood events, social influences, money beliefs, obviously, but it's a lot about personal fulfillment. So working on all my limiting beliefs and changing that around.
All.
And
All.
As money as I can reach. Actually working a lot on that course, and besides that, basically doing tapping still every day, and sometimes just randomly just tap, not like focused. And I'm following your course now.
Cool. So on a weekly basis, so roughly how much how many minutes of tapping would you do?
A weekly basis.
Rough guess.
Yeah. Probably around at least 2 hours. Probably
about 2 hours.
Yeah, that's pretty long actually. I'm pretty busy. I work a lot, but I try to do it even a few minutes a day. You know. just to make
Great.
it a habit.
Yeah. So I asked that question because I want to talk about some thoughts that people often have in their minds in terms of that. Because one question I often ask, like, well, do I need to keep doing this tapping forever in order to manage my anxiety? No, but because as long as your brain sees a threat, you will experience, your brain will activate fight, flight, freeze response, put your whole system in survival mode. You will experience anxiety. That will happen every single time as long as there's a threat. But there's only a certain amount of threats that your brain perceives. There might be 40, there might be 4. It just depends. So if you get rid of those 40, then there's no activation of that fight, flight, freeze response anymore, and you're anxiety free. There's no anxiety anymore. That's a gentle progression for people. So if you have 40 threats and you get rid of 10 of them, that means that you get triggered a lot less. I mean, not that much less, still quite a bit, but less. Get rid of a whole bunch more. And if you only have 10 triggers left, now you get significantly less triggered, and eventually you get to the point where it's not there anymore. And that's it. Then you don't I don't have to tap on social anxiety because that's not a problem for me anymore. However, my mentor, Dr. David Lake, psychotherapist, 20 plus years of experience in tapping, 35 years as a psychotherapist, most qualified guy I know, and his best mate, Steve Wells, psychologist, they talk about body toning, which means that you tap for a certain amount of time per day, ideally up to an hour. Wait before you start freaking out. And because it's like a workout for your energetic or emotional system. So most people, their stress level is this high and their happy hormones are this low. And when your stress is this high, negative thoughts come in, they glue to the stress and they stick in your mind and just keep bothering, keep worried about it, and so on. When you start doing an hour of tapping a day, unfocused, so that can do when you're watching Netflix, when you're watching a movie, you don't have to focus on problems to try to tap to get rid of them. That's direct tapping. This is indirect tapping, body toning. After a week of tapping, 2 weeks of tapping, 3 weeks of tapping of an hour a day, then this stress level comes down and your happy hormone comes up. And now when negative thoughts come, they don't bother you so much anymore. So you just, in general, you become a lot more relaxed. So when I was doing this big relief mission in the Philippines after Super Typhoon Haiyan, Super Typhoon Yolanda had hit and ravaged the Philippines, we were in the city where there were 8,000 people who died. All the houses, it just looked like a war zone, and we were working with the most traumatized people there. Now, even if you've been doing that work a long time, you get to hear really, really horrible stories all day long. So we need to, as practitioners, to protect ourselves as well from not taking on the feelings of them. You hear about people losing their kids or losing their whole family. It's very, very upsetting. So David and Steve were like, make sure you do your hour of tapping because it's just, you keep yourself in a good place. So there's a lot of value in simply doing that tapping, and you can do 15 minutes when you're walking your dog. If you drive a car, you can tap on your fingers whenever there's a red light. And you don't have to do it in one go. You can just add up to it. It's just one of these practices that kind of becomes a habit. You can link it to things that you're habitually already doing anyway, like brushing your teeth or taking a shower or watching your favorite show on Netflix. That's why I asked that question. So thank you. So I think that too, like the accumulation of a lot of tapping, has helped also in your great results, in your rapid progress. So pretty awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. It makes sense, of course. Like, I mean, you're just telling your body, like, hey, normally you feel safe when you're doing the tapping, right? It's you're giving a signal to your brain or your system, like, hey, I tap. Normally, the tapping is something that makes you feel safe. Now it's like, hey, I tap again, doesn't even know what, but it's like, hey, you're safe, right? It like probably
Yes.
reduces your stress, or not even aware, or maybe subconsciously, unconsciously, that it's there, and you're probably tapping on it, and then it's reducing your stress levels without even focusing on it. So, yeah, that's great. That's awesome, man.
Studies have shown that the tapping sends a little signal to the part of your brain called the amygdala, and which regulates your hormones, and it decreases the production of cortisol, your stress hormone, and it increases the production of serotonin, your happy hormones, and that creates a sense of calm. So, like going to the gym is great. This is that you mostly do for your body, though also a little bit for the rest. This you mostly do for your emotions, which also a little bit affects the rest, since it's connected. So great. Just wanted to point that out. So then, any other benefits that you've noticed that you can point out?
On the tapping, or just from the last session? On tapping.
Either.
Well, it's one of the benefits, one of the greatest benefits I believe from the tapping is that it's so easy to do. Even like knowing that you're in a situation where you might feel anxious, of course, with the acceptance part, is the first key to that, and like releasing the subconscious resistance. While like knowing that if you experience a social of anxiety in a social situation, you can tap, and you can tap like what you say, you can tap with your fingers, and you can say, you can give the signal to your brain that you're safe in that situation. No, and normally without the tapping, now you have a tool. So when you feel anxious, you have a tool to calm your nervous system down. Like, hey, okay, when it happens, I have to panic. There's nothing, I don't have to run away, or I don't have to. It's okay. When it happens, even though like I've got a tool, I've accepted it. It's there. It's part of my system. I've got a tool to work on it, and knowing that it's going to give you progress, knowing that it's like, even though what I think, like, while having those situations, I'm happy actually that a situation comes up again. That means I can heal. If it doesn't come up, there's no way. Like, of course, you need to find it again. If it comes up, it's like, hey, thank you for bringing it up. That's a place where you can heal. Like, then you let it, like, because if you push it down again, that's what happens. Like, if you go energy psychology, you push it down again, and then it gets stuck. But now it's like, hey, it's here, bring it up, tap on it, reduce it or get rid of it. Like, open your heart and let it flow through your body, because that's what it want to do in the first place. But most of the people never do that, obviously.
Yeah,
of course,
we repress our feelings.
And by doing the tapping, it's like, hey, it's so easy to do, and it's giving so many like direct benefits. Obviously, the one time, some situations more than the other, but it's just a really easy and effective tool to use. And I'm really happy and grateful that I found EFT tapping.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. That's why I'm spreading the news. I've been for a long time. Yeah, it's great. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. I think we shared some good news.
No, we're already done, you.
It's
That's
easy
great.
and quick. Time flies. We've been talking for 40 minutes. So I'd like to thank you for coming on and sharing some empowering truths to others, and sharing your journey and your path. So really, really cool. Much appreciated.
Yeah, no worries. I'm really stoked to do this call with you, and I'm also really grateful to be here, and to that you invited me for this call, and to do this. To share my experiences with others, and hope it can benefit others with it. Can benefit others from my story and my experiences, and see that my progress, that you don't have to, that it's not a black and white thing from becoming socially anxious to socially at ease. Yeah, and it's a lot of small steps. And even though you can be happy with that 60% or that 80%, knowing that you're almost there and knowing that you can overcome it and you can become free of your anxiety.
Exactly. Well said.
Thank you.
I have nothing to add. All right. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
So if you're watching this, thank you for watching. Hope this inspired you. Spread the good news. And well, should we send you anywhere? No. This is it. Have a great one. This is Sebastian from socialanxietysolutions.com. Bye for now.